Pamela Voorhees. Pamela Voorhees in Friday the 13th, 1980, was the franchise's very first killer, and her death is the catalyst that sets the rest of the series into motion. Pamela had been living in secret around Camp Crystal Lake, consumed by anger over her son, Jason's supposed drowning, back in 1957. She saw the reopening of the camp as an insult to his memory, and as a repeat of the same negligence that led to his death. She systematically hunted down the counselors one by one, with knives, axes, and even arrows. In the climax, Pamela stalks Alice Hardy, the final girl. They struggle by the shoreline of Crystal Lake. Pamela, holding a machete, raises it high to strike. Alice counters by swinging the weapon with both hands, slicing straight through Pamela's neck. The blade cuts cleanly, and her head is severed in a single stroke. The camera lingers on Pamela's body collapsing to the ground, while her decapitated head remains separate, emphasizing the brutality of her fate. This death not only removes Pamela as the threat, but leaves Jason, who had been a background figure, to eventually rise as the true villain. Alice Hardy. Alice Hardy survives the first film, but does not escape Jason's vengeance for long. In Friday the 13th Part 2, 1981, she appears briefly at the beginning, living in a small house away from Crystal Lake. Traumatized and isolated, Alice paints and attempts to move on with her life. Jason tracks her down, establishing his role as the killer. He first frightens her by leaving Pamela Voorhees' severed head in her refrigerator, a grotesque shrine to his mother. When Alice reels back in shock, Jason attacks from behind. Using an ice pick, he drives the sharp point directly into her temple. Alice collapses instantly, dead, before she hits the floor. Her murder is important because it eliminates the first film's heroine and confirms Jason as the new slasher antagonist. The sequence also shows Jason's habit of carrying his mother's memory into his killings, something that shapes much of his early character. Jason Voorhees. Jason himself nearly dies at the end of Friday the 13th, Part 2. Ginny Field, the new final girl, uses her intelligence to manipulate him. Discovering Jason's shack in the woods, she finds the shrine he built around Pamela Voorhees' head and sweater. Ginny puts on the sweater and pretends to be Jason's mother. Because Jason's psychology is fractured, he briefly accepts the illusion, kneeling as though his mother is speaking to him. Ginny takes the opportunity to strike with a machete. She slams it into his shoulder, and Jason collapses, apparently dead. The film deliberately blurs whether he truly dies or simply loses consciousness. His body is not shown after the scene, keeping the audience uncertain. While this isn't a permanent death, it is Jason's first apparent on-screen defeat, proving he can be hurt, but also foreshadowing his uncanny resilience. Jason Voorhees. In Friday the 13th Part 3, 1982, Jason returns with his now iconic hockey mask. The film's final confrontation unfolds in a barn where Chris Higgins faces him alone. Jason chases her through the barn loft and ground level. Chris eventually seizes an axe. She swings it down with all her strength, burying the blade directly into Jason's forehead. The weapon lodges deep, leaving Jason staggering for a brief moment before collapsing to the barn floor. Blood seeps from the wound, and his body lies motionless. The axe strike is presented as a killing blow, but his return in the next film reveals it was only another temporary stop. Still, this wound becomes part of his permanent appearance, with the hockey mask later showing a crack or damage from this very injury. Jason Voorhees. Friday the 13th. The final chapter, 1984, was marketed as Jason's true ending. The climax is more violent than earlier entries. Tommy Jarvis, a young boy with a talent for masks and makeup, joins his sister Trish in fighting Jason. To distract him, Tommy shaves his head to resemble a young Jason, confusing the killer long enough to get close. When Jason falters, Tommy seizes a machete and strikes. He buries the blade deep into Jason's skull, and Jason collapses to the floor. But Tommy doesn't stop there. In a frenzy, he repeatedly hacks at Jason's body, continuing to slash long after Jason is incapacitated. The brutality is emphasized by Jason's face, shown in close-up as the blade mutilates him. This scene was designed to be final, leaving no ambiguity. Tommy's relentless attack symbolizes both Jason's destruction and Tommy's descent into psychological trauma. This was Jason's most explicit death to that point. Roy Burns. The franchise then shifts to Friday the 13th. A New Beginning, 1985. Here, Jason himself is not the killer. Instead, a paramedic named Roy Burns takes on Jason's mask after his son is killed at a halfway house. Roy uses the Jason persona to enact a killing spree. His death comes in the climactic barn battle. During a struggle on the loft, Roy is knocked out of the window and falls backward onto sharp farming machinery. The impact drives the spikes through his body, killing him instantly. His mask is pulled away to reveal his identity, confirming that Jason was not involved in these murders at all. This twist angered fans, leading the next film to resurrect Jason properly. Jason Voorhees, Friday the 13th. Part 6, Jason Lives, 1986, begins with Jason's resurrection. Tommy Jarvis, still haunted by Jason, digs up his grave to cremate the body. In anger, he impales Jason's corpse with a metal fence post. A storm strikes, lightning hits the post, and Jason is revived, no longer human, but now an unstoppable undead figure. In the climax, Tommy lures Jason into Crystal Lake. He wraps heavy chains around Jason's neck and anchors him to a large boulder. Jason struggles underwater, trying to pull free. A boat propeller shreds part of his face during the fight, further damaging him. In the end, Jason is pinned to the lake bed, his eyes wide open but unable to escape. Though undead and not destroyed, this immobilization serves as his defeat for the film. Jason Voorhees. Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood, 1988, introduces Tina Shepard, a teenager with telekinetic abilities. Throughout the film, Tina uses her psychic powers to resist Jason. In the final confrontation, Jason is overwhelmed by Tina's telekinesis, which burns him, crushes him with debris, and damages his body. Just when it seems she has run out of strength, the spirit of her deceased father rises from Crystal Lake. His ghostly form grabs Jason and drags him underwater, where chains bind him once again to the lake bed. This supernatural ending emphasizes Jason's vulnerability to forces beyond the physical, showing him subdued not by human weapons, but by paranormal intervention. Jason Voorhees. In Friday, the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, 1989. Jason leaves the familiar woods and attacks survivors in New York City. The climax takes place in the sewers. Toxic waste floods the tunnels at midnight, part of the city's sanitation system. Jason, cornering his victims, is caught in the chemical torrent. The acidic waste overwhelms his body, eating through his flesh. In a surreal moment, Jason's hulking figure dissolves and reverts to the form of a small, drowning boy before disappearing into the flood. The sequence represents his destruction by unnatural chemicals, though the ambiguous imagery suggests a symbolic transformation rather than a literal biological death. Jason Voorhees. Jason Goes to Hell. The Final Friday, 1993, opens with Jason ambushed by the FBI. They lure him into a cabin with a lone female agent acting as bait. Once inside, a team of snipers and explosive specialists open fire, riddling him with bullets before detonating explosives that blow his body apart. Jason's heart, however, survives. His evil essence allows him to possess human hosts by transferring into their bodies. This leads to multiple kills through surrogate hosts until the climax, where his original body is restored. Jessica Kimball, a descendant of the Voorhees family, wields a mystic dagger capable of permanently killing him. She drives the dagger into his heart, causing the ground to split open. Demonic arms rise from hell itself, seizing Jason and dragging him into the abyss. This death was designed as final, with Jason literally sent to hell. Jason Voorhees. Freddy vs. Jason, 2003, crosses Jason with Freddy Krueger. The film builds to an extended battle at Crystal Lake. Both characters take brutal damage, with Freddy slashing Jason repeatedly and Jason impaling Freddy. The climax comes when Jason seizes Freddy's own glove and drives the blades into Freddy's chest. He then carries Freddy's body into the lake as an explosion engulfs the dock. Both sink beneath the surface. In the aftermath, Jason emerges from the water holding Freddy's severed head. Freddy winks, leaving the outcome unresolved. Jason's death here is ambiguous. He suffers major injuries and sinks into the lake, but his survival is implied by the final image. Uber Jason. Jason X, 2001, moves the setting to the future. Jason is captured and cryogenically frozen on Earth. Centuries later, he is revived on a spaceship orbiting Earth 2. After being damaged in combat, nanotechnology repairs and upgrades his body into Uber Jason, a cybernetic form with metallic enhancements and immense strength. In the finale, Uber Jason is tackled by Brodsky, a soldier who sacrifices himself. They re-enter Earth 2's atmosphere, burning up from friction. Jason's body is engulfed in flames as the pair incinerate on re-entry. This destruction takes place on a planetary scale, seemingly erasing his body completely. Jason Voorhees. The 2009 reboot of Friday the 13th reimagines Jason's origins and story. The climax sees siblings Clay and Whitney Miller fight Jason at his shack. They trap him with chains and stab him repeatedly. Finally, they drag his body to the dock and push him into Crystal Lake. Chains pull him down, anchoring him underwater. Believing him defeated, the siblings dispose of the body. But in the final scene, Jason bursts through the dock and grabs Whitney, delivering the franchise's traditional jump scare ending. His survival is once again implied, keeping the cycle open. There's always more hidden beneath the surface. So, don't stop here. Click the next video on your screen to uncover even more details you might have missed.